What's up, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from blueandgold.com here with the Blue Gold game recap, some notable stats, takeaways, and nuggets from the Blue Gold game on May 1st. Before we dive into today's video, please hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to our Blue and Gold channel for more content, and go to blueandgold.com for everything Notre Dame football, covering the NFL draft, and of course from the Blue Gold game. Let's start with the quarterbacks, and we'll go in alphabetical order here. He had one drive in the first half, and it was a quick 3-and-out. His first run, he broke MTA's ankles and ran for like 3 or 4 yards, and then on 3rd down and 4, he stared down his receiver, threw into double coverage, and the pass was incomplete. But that next time he came out, he led a 75-yard touchdown drive that was capped off by his touchdown run of 7 yards. Also, again, 4-play, 75-yard drive in just a minute and 42 seconds. Buchner led both of the blue team's touchdown drives. They also had a touchdown drive early in the fourth quarter. Leo Albano, a walk-on running back, punched in a 1-yard touchdown run. The blue team beat the gold team 17-3, and quarterbacked by the blue team was Buchner and Drew Pyne. And that's a good segue to talk about Pyne. Thought he had a fine day. 11 of 23, 146 yards, didn't throw a touchdown, had the interception. His throw to, I believe it was Lawrence Keys, was a little late and a little behind. Justin Walters, the true freshman safety, made a nice play on the ball. All in all, I thought it was a strong showing by Pyne. He had a wow throw, a dart to Lawrence Keys in between 4 defenders for a pickup of 41 yards. Again, Pyne's numbers weren't fantastic, but when you see him in this setting, you at least for me, I came away much more impressed than, I think we can all remember Drew Pyne trotting out against Alabama for a couple plays, and Ian Book had to come out for a moment, and Pyne just looked really small and like he was a true freshman at the time, and that was just 4 months ago. But that moment looked too big for him, at least from a physical standpoint. I felt like today and what we've seen in these practice clips that Notre Dame sent to the media, I feel like he has looked a lot better and bigger physically, and not the strongest arm in the world, but he is accurate as heck, as we've talked about so many times. And they mentioned a lot on the Peacock broadcast that he just has a memory that is extremely short. He'll miss a guy, he'll miss a read, but that next play, Drew Pyne can go and sling it. Jack Cohn was the quarterback for the gold team, 18 of 32 on his passing. That's 56%, 197 yards, and was picked off once. Not great stats. He had some wow moments, at least in my opinion. Thought he looked really good on some throws. And then he had a bad decision when he threw an out route to Kyren Williams that Shane Simon jumped. My biggest takeaway from Cohn is that he has a command of this offense. You wouldn't think this is a guy that's only had 15 practices with Notre Dame. I don't think any of these quarterbacks, Cohn, Buchner, Pyne, did anything to over the top wow you, but nothing either that made you say, wow, this guy shouldn't be starting. More so for Cohn and Pyne, they're the ones that are really battling for the quarterback position. And I think Cohn is still the QB1 heading into the fall. Let's take a look at the Notre Dame leading receivers. Lawrence Keys, had to mention, targeted 15 times by Buchner and Pyne. That's a good bit there. 5 receptions for 115 yards. Braden Lenzy, who's pictured there, 5 receptions, 88 yards. Avery Davis had a nice game, 5 receptions, 84 yards. How about Mitchell Evans, the true freshman early enrollee tight end, with 3 receptions for 59 yards. I thought he and Kane Barong looked really good, and they have all this spring. Let's give some love to the Notre Dame running backs. Chris Tyree, man, I think he is just stepping into a bigger role. Each game that passes, Tyree 10 rushes, 43 yards. Also had a couple receptions for 16 yards. No need to really give Kyren Williams a ton of work. He only had 3 rushes for 16 yards and a couple catches for 20 yards. Quick mention, Sibo Flemister, 7 carries for 11 yards. Not a whole lot here to mention on the Notre Dame running backs. That is just one solid group, and that group will get even better when Logan Diggs and Audric Estime arrive this summer. Defensively, a few guys to mention. Jack Kaiser led the Notre Dame defense with 8 tackles. Litchfield Ajavon had 4 tackles and a couple of pass breakups. Shane Simon had a tackle and an interception that I mentioned earlier. Marius Lufau, a guy who I've loved this spring, 5 tackles and a couple tackles for loss. And Justin Walters had an interception on Drew Pine. Thought it was pretty classy of Notre Dame to have a picture of Loose Emoji in the seat that he would have normally sat in next to our Patrick Angle. Very classy of Notre Dame. Please keep Loose Emoji's family in your thoughts and prayers and consider donating to the Loose Emoji Memorial Scholarship. Before we get you out of here, a couple more things. Let's hear from Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly talking about Buchner, and then 3 minutes of B-roll from the spring game that Notre Dame sent to the media.
As it relates to Tyler, you know, it's the growth progression for him. Today he took a big step up in terms of his growth. He was given more of an opportunity, obviously, by being live, and I thought he took advantage of it. He had some really good throws down the field. You know, obviously the one to Lindsey, the deep ball, did a really nice job with it. But you know, I think that there's always a chance. We're never going to close the door on what can help our offense be a better offense. You know, we're not going to say, well, Tyler Buchner's a freshman, he can't play. Tyler Buchner, if he can help our football team, we'll find any role for somebody that can help us. So he just needs to continue to grow, continue to learn, and if he does that, and we feel like when we get to the fall that there's a role or some form of you know, playing that can help us with Tyler Buchner, we'll certainly consider that as well. Whatever makes us better, I guess, is what I'm saying. We're certainly going to consider.
And now we'll go ahead and play the 3 minutes of B-roll from the spring game that Notre Dame sent to the media.
The 27-yard field goal attempt is good for Jonathan Carter.
Look out, too far. For the Irish. There's Lindsey wide open. On the inside of the big play. Buchner pass completed to number 0, Brandon Lindsey for the Irish. First.